Half a day.
Half a day.
Is everybody? We're ready to start. Sorry, I was on another meeting and I just got done, but I am on time. So the Public Defender Board of Trustees meeting, I didn't get my lunch yet though, by the way.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, I don't know why. So I was expecting the lunch to trigger me to go, but well, Public Defender Board of Trustees meeting will be called to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Chief Justice Robert J. Torres,
I'm here.
Presiding Judge Alberto C. Lamarena,
Present.
Trustee Donna Muña Canata,
Here.
Trustee Christiana S. Whitman,
Puffedy, I'm here.
Guam Bar President Jackie T. Terlahi.
Present.
All right, we do have a quorum. And before we go through the agenda and ask for the approval of minutes, I'd like to welcome our newest member, Christiana Whitman. Tiana, can you just give people the background, a little bit about you and the work that you're doing? And I didn't pick her because she was a Notre Dame grad, but she is a Notre Dame grad.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon, and it's great meeting all of you. I'm actually very humbled. This is going to be a new kind of appointment for me. So I do work in behavioral health, and I have been working in this area for over 10 years. But my primary background is as a counselor, educator, and supervisor. I was teaching at Guam Community College and the University of Guam before returning to my roots about 3 years ago to the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. I started my career straight out of the Notre Dame undergraduate program in psychology at IFA Magonza, which was our first systems of care on Guam. And that was about 16 years ago. And then went back to school and found my way back to the island about 10 years ago, maybe. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. Primarily at Guam Behavioral, I work in prevention and training, and I manage and oversee a federal suicide prevention grant. And I do consultation services for our clinicians. But I'm really eager to serve and work with all of you here. Thank you very much for the appointment, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Tiana. Before we, I'll go ahead and ask if everyone has had a chance to look at the meeting of minutes from January 24th and entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the last meeting subject to correction.
Is there a second?
I second it, sir.
All right, it's seconded by Trustee Canata, Muña Canata, and
Yes,
made
thank you, sir.
by motion from the presiding judge. All those in favor say aye.
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 Hi.
Aye.
All right, there being no objection, the meeting minutes are approved. Before we go into old business, I'm going to ask if I can take the matter, if there's no objection, out of order and deal with the new business to look at the commendations for both Attorney Acube and former Chief Justice Carbolito, resolutions of the Judicial Count of the Public Defender Board, commending them for their contributions. Is Attorney Acube on, or she is not?
Your Honor, she's off island and apologize for not being able to make it to today's meeting.
So we will table her resolution and deal with Justice Carbolito's resolution. Is there any objection to moving out of order and doing that? So that Justice Carbolito, I know he's got a busy schedule. We have appellate session this week. So I'm sure he doesn't want to sit through our entire board meeting to wait for the commendation. So if there's no objection, I'd like to do that. Any objection?
No.
No objection.
All right, thank you. So we'll proceed with that. And I'm going to ask the executive director of the public defender or the administrator to talk about the resolution and, you know, Justice Carbolito's service as the chairman of the board.
Great. So the resolution is, I guess, on page 39. maybe we could have the move to that one. Or page 40, rather. So, rather than reading the entire resolution, I just want to personally thank Chief Justice Carbolito for the support he's given to our office, and especially, our employees, right? I mean, we did pass that 7% raise, last year with the support of our board and with you as a Chief Justice. So that was really helpful to our staff. We also want to thank you for helping us set up the Elder Justice Center and really letting it stand on its own. Separating it out from the main office is great. It's increased the number of protective orders we've been able to obtain, and it's eliminated pretty much all the conflicts that were being caused by us doing protective orders, as well as now we're also able to help, our Manumco. So we really appreciate being able to provide those services for our seniors. And, the center is really, I think, solidly established now, thanks to Ron Haynes and the incredible team they have there. And so we really appreciate you for helping set that up, turn it from a pilot program to a full division. And so we really appreciate that. I think that's going to be one of the things you'll be, remembered for once you retire and everything. So thank you for your service. And, I hope we brought you lunch today. But if not,
Maybe that's where my lunch was delivered, was to Justice Carbolito.
But if not, we have this beautiful resolution for you, and I know it's framed. Somebody has a frame somewhere.
We delivered it to Chambers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's delivered. And Chief Justice Torres, your lunch was delivered with the PJ. And Chief Justice Carbolito should have had his lunch. Everybody had lunch.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So PJ, you've got my lunch?
His marshal had it. It's his
I don't
marshal.
know. I got mine.
All right. We'll figure it out. I'll get it at some point today.
Well,
Kathy, do
figure
you want to
it-
say anything about Justice Carbolito's service? And I'll ask the other trustees who served with him if they have any comments.
Your Honor, we want to thank you for being so supportive with our team. We're very grateful. You were very instrumental in allowing us to open up the Elder Justice Center, and we're so grateful for that service that we're providing our Manumco. And so thank you for your support, your continued support with our office. And we wish you well, and we'll see you in a couple of years.
Okay, I'd like to also say a few words for former Chief Justice Carbolito. And I think that they figured you were on fasting because it's let Chief Justice Torres. So maybe that explains why you need your lunch. But I'd like to commend Chief Justice Carbolito during his tenure. I think that when he was also the chairman of the Judicial Council, he was also chairman of the Public Defenders Services Corporation. And I like the leadership he exemplified during the COVID crisis. I think he was able to consult with the board members, with the attorneys of public defender to make sure and ensure that the rights of defendants were not violated because of the pandemic. As you know, the governor closed everything down. We were in complete lockdown, but people were still violating the law, and the board was always on top to make sure that the rights of defendants were always protected during the pandemic. And also the CJ Carbolito also was instrumental to making sure that the employees and all the patrons of Public Defender was safe from COVID. And it minimized the exposure that many of the employees at Public Defender had because of his precautions and his compliance with all the guidelines submitted by the Department of Public Health and Social Services in making sure that we were well protected from the COVID virus and to minimize the effect that the COVID virus had on all the employees and patrons and everyone else that the public defender serves. So congratulations, Chief Justice Carbolito, on your tenure as chairman of the Public Defender's Office. And also the elderly abuse, but I think that was also mentioned by Steve and Kathy, so I won't mention that, but I acknowledge that You were instrumental in establishing that, along with Donna Kanata.
Trustee Kanata?
Yes, CJ Carbolito, I ditto what they said, but more importantly, I want to thank you for always having faith in me and trusting me to sit on this board to contribute what I can for not just this board, but for the people of Guam. So again, thank you for always having the faith in me, and congratulations. And I know you're going to do great things out there. I know this is not the last time we're going to talk to you. So we'll wait till we see you again. Thank you, sir.
Annie, I don't know is there anything you want to contribute? And then Jackie, if there's anything before we move on.
Your Honor, I'll defer to Ms. Terlahi since she's on the board. Thank you. I'll speak after her, though.
All right, thank you.
Oh, Annie, you're so sweet. That's what I love about this board. Chief, no longer Chief. Sorry, Chief Justice Torres. I am now
Hey, they say once a chief, always a chief, so it's okay.
Yeah, right. No, I wanted to say Sedulas Maasi to Justice Carbolito. Absolutely. I think your contribution to our board has been amazing. And I think that, the work that you all put together, between all the different chiefs that we've had over the years, that collaborative effort between that body and with our presiding judge and with our criminal indigent people, that we really, working together, you guys make an amazing team, and I'm always happy to be part of that. So Sedulas Maasi.
Annie?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to former Chief Justice, but CJ always, all of you guys are always CJ. Former Chief Justice Carbolito was the person responsible for helping put together the alternate public defender. And he still continues to add valuable insight to how or what his vision was like for alternate public defender. And so we always thank you for your vision and your support. Thank you. And we'll see you again. Don't worry.
Thank you all. And I'll just say just a couple of words. Obviously, indigent defense is near and dear to Justice Carbolito's heart, and he continues to, as the chair of the Indigent Defense Committee, look for solutions to, so those that can't afford representation are able to have adequate representation. And he's not going far. He's right here. He's got a lot of things still to contribute and to the things that we want to do. And he's always a valuable resource. I'm a little disappointed, Justice Carbolito, because they must not have got the memo. I told them to do it more as a roast than as more fun like, but they must have missed that part of the memo. But anyways, Phil, if you wouldn't mind saying a few words for us, and then of course you're free to stay, but you're also free to go.
Thank you, Chief Justice Torres. And let me start by congratulating the newest board member, Tiana Whitman. Your background will be a great contribution to the Board of Trustees. And, the resolution is not necessary, but it's very much appreciated. The success of the Public Defender Service Corporation is due to its management and staff. We board members are there to provide support, and we're transitory. But the members, the management under Steve and Kathy Ann, you and John Morrison, you provide really the direction on a day-to-day basis. You have an excellent staff and a group of lawyers. And it's really a privilege and an honor for me to be part of the organization for the past 3 years. I thank you deeply for the recognition. It's really not necessary, and the mission of the public defender will continue with the management and staff. Probably you need to add the presiding judge there, because he's a fixture on your board, and so his institutional knowledge is invaluable both to the public defender and of course to the judiciary. But I thank you, and I did receive my lunch, and I did get an extra pepperoni pizza, so I don't know whose pizza is that.
That's exactly where it was.
But you know, it's already popped up. So Kathy, I think you need to order CJ another
We're-
CP pizza.
Your Honor, we're on it. We already got, he'll have a fresh meal coming to him.
I just
15, 20
thought it,
minutes.
I thought it was a bonus because I was, I stepped down, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And CJ, thank you for allowing me to sign off after this. You know, we are very busy this week and preoccupied with all the work relating to our oral arguments. So I thank you very much. I am humbled and I very much appreciate all the kind words. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I mean, I wanted to make sure, I know it's not warranted or required, but I think the work that you've done has been appreciated, and I wanted to make sure we had the opportunity to thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, we'll continue now with the agenda, and we'll now go to old business and get the financial status update.
Good afternoon, Your Honor and members of the board. We have received our second February allotment release on February 16th, and PDSC is at 93%, while APD is operating at 94%. And because the allotments are released during the week of each pay period, we anticipate another release this week. On another note, JAG access to council grants expenditures as of January 31st is 17,300, leaving the encumbered and unexpended balance as of today at 9,300. Invoices were submitted and reimbursement of expenditures are a work in process. We have contacted BSP and are still waiting for their response on that matter. For the TAC and others, the STOP and ICJR funding, there are two funding sources for the domestic violence programs. The funding available from the ICJR grant as of January 31st is at 114,000 and will be used for reimbursements for the advance payments made on behalf of TAC from February to September 2023. The funding balance from STOP 2020, which I reported previously, had a balance of 3,376. This was supplemented with the additional required funds from the governor's office to accommodate the travel and training summit scheduled in April 2023. After the April summit, STOP 2020 funds will be exhausted. For the Elder Justice Center, for fiscal year 2023, we have not received payments for our invoices for December 2022 and January 2023 and are still pending. According to the Division of Senior Citizens, the invoices have been validated and transmitted to DOA. We will be following up with DOA for payments. And that concludes the report for the finances for PDSC. If there are any questions, I'll be available. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mike? All right, there being none, we'll go to the next item, which is the report from the executive director.
Okay, thank you. Also, once again, welcome aboard, Dr. Whitman, and welcome back, Trustee Kanata. So I'll expand a little more than I usually do for an executive director update, just so we can get everyone up to speed. So Mike referenced the JAG grant access to council program, and what basically that is, we got a small grant to prepare to put in a Zoom enabled computers at all the different correctional facilities that house our clients. And so we have basically two at Manila and an additional one in the female unit. We have two in Agana. We have one at DYA. And so we've been trying to work out schedules with DOC to actually meet clients through Zoom, as opposed to sometimes they have lockdown. So it helps when they're locked down because of a COVID outbreak. It's happened a couple times already. And so that's a little grant that we got. It was probably like 26,000, but it allowed us to basically service our clients more regularly. Another thing I want to mention is we're moving forward with our Sixth Amendment Center project. So the Sixth Amendment Center is it's a national organization that goes around assessing criminal defense systems across the nation. They received a grant to do one for Guam. Chief Justice Carbolito signed off on the last MOU, and Chief Justice Torres is going to allow us to continue with it. He's been working, the Chief Justice has given us a letter to provide to them to contact stakeholders to help them as they basically investigate and analyze our criminal defense system. I mean, they're going all the way back to like the when the PDSC was first created. So I guess they're doing a full history, and they basically look at it from our, to ensure that we're providing the kind of representation that the Sixth Amendment requires. And so we're really looking forward to seeing how this project turns out. It's primarily geared towards dealing with adult criminal defense, but we're going to see if we can get them to include our juvenile representation as well at some point. The next thing is we've been conducting these nuts and bolts private attorney panel training with the thanks to the Guam Bar as well as the judiciary. We had 2 days that were pretty successful. I think there were at least 30 individuals each day, and it was really great. Unfortunately, it was like we had to reel some guys in because it ended up being how lawyers get, right? They like to rant. So there were a couple of times they had complaints, and we recorded them. We'll share them at a later date. But we want to get the private attorneys who haven't had to deal with criminal cases really since the private attorney panel was created, maybe 12, 15 years. And so a lot of them unfamiliar. And so we are using in-house expertise to help train them, get them up to speed, provide them all the necessary forms that they need to do to adequately represent their clients. And so, hopefully it'll lead to some of them joining the private attorney panel, because we really believe in the private attorney panel. I think it actually saves money because they become more efficient when they handle cases. The more they handle criminal cases, the more efficient they get. So I don't think they really ever hit the cap, the panel did, unless it went to trial. So we're hoping to help our private attorneys who want to try to do this, get up to speed. What else? We have the March 18th is the 60th anniversary of Gideon. We're planning on, celebrating Gideon versus Wainwright, the U.S. Supreme Court case, that gave us all jobs, right? And so we're reaching out. We're going to have a proclamation signing. I mean, if we don't celebrate public defenders, no one will really. And so we want to use this opportunity to create awareness and hopefully encourage private attorneys to accept some of these court appointments. And so we have a proclamation signing we're setting up with the governor, and then we're also going to do some educational outreach through the media. And so that's another project coming up. And then last year,
March 18th is right around the corner, Steve. I mean, are you going to have a separate program, or you going to do something at work, or?
Well, so we're going to have the proclamation signing, and then we'll try to have our attorneys go on all the different radio shows, and hopefully we'll get some to write, letters to the editor, things like that. But yeah, we don't really have a party planned, but just to create an educational awareness campaign. And so that, I know it's just around the corner. Another thing that we've been working on with the Chief Justice is putting together a Criminal Defense Academy. The federal public defenders also want to partner with us on that. We have a couple trainers from the mainland that we're hoping to bring out. One will help our investigators, and one combined with the federal public defenders who will bring one trainer out. So we anticipate 2 attorney trainers and then an investigator trainer. We also want to try to build the private investigator panel. I don't think there are enough private investigators on Guam. So if we can, find some retired police officers and or retired investigators to take these cases, I think, it'll really it'll improve representation of indigent clients, but it will save the court money, right? Because right now you're having lawyers doing all the stuff for a bail motion, including interviewing, third-party custodians and all that at the soon-to-be rate of 140 an hour. So if we can get investigators to do that and also help them investigate cases, I think the indigent clients that are represented by the private attorney panel and private attorneys will, be well represented. I mean, it's to me, if I was charged with a crime, I would feel disadvantaged because both public defenders and APD, we have really great investigators that are able to track down all the loose ends that attorneys don't have time to track down. And so if we can build up the private investigator list, then we think it'll improve representation for indigents. And so that's something we're hoping to do with as part of our criminal defense academy. It looks like it's going to be in August because that's when our trainers can come out. And then the next thing is we also want to acknowledge and thank GDOE. We have with the federal programs in collaboration and with their support, we're going to be setting up a parent resource center through the School Climate, Culture, and Engagement Project. This parent resource center will provide the necessary social support to our parent student clients with the provision of 7 laptops, 2 printers, tables, chairs, and supplies to access the tools and services for employment, housing, education, training, court hearings, and other supportive services for to help our clients with better outcomes. So we'd like to thank GDOE, Mr. Ike Santos from Federal Programs, and Ms. Doris Bukikosa, who's the project lead for this program, the School Climate, Culture, and Engagement Project, and for really helping our social worker section expand and provide these additional services. We'd like to thank them for that. We also want to welcome aboard Carol Hinkle Sanchez. She's present. I'm sure you guys are aware that Ron Haynes, who's been heading our Elder Justice Center and our Civil Law Center, is going to become a pastor in the mainland. Is that Indiana, Ron?
Yes, yeah, in Indiana.
Yeah, so we lost him to Indiana, and fortunately, we were able to, hire Carol to replace Ron, and so they'll have a 2 or 3 week transition period. And so I just wanted to welcome Carol aboard. And then the last thing I wanted to share with the board is that we did testify yesterday on bill number 2437. I know the judiciary is also testified in support of that and asked for an appropriation to pay for it. I don't know why the bill was introduced without including the monies needed for the judiciary as well as our office, and apparently they didn't even include a GDOE in it. So my understanding is the legislature plans on amending that bill to provide the resources so that all the agencies and all the branches can provide that 22% increase to the general pay plan members. And then the other thing is
but there was an increase provided to some on the general pay plan that was with the PDSC last year, right?
yes, so we did have a 6% for all employees and 7% for our law enforcement employees. And so the money we requested amounting to about $348, 348,000 would basically raise them up to the 18% for law enforcement, 22% for everyone else. And unfortunately, it didn't really provide for the attorneys. So that's something we did ask, like if they provided us the funding, then we could just across the board raise everybody up 22%. So it kind of clouds that issue we're going to have with our pay parity bill. But I mean, if they can fund us for, I mean, I would prefer that we also provide that to our attorneys, and we might have to make a pitch for that at the next board meeting where we'll submit proposed amendments to our pay scales.
Well, I mean, there was the separate bill that was introduced on the attorney pay plan. And that's, I mean, and the one thing is that I think it's very difficult to get, other than the general pay plan approval included in this bill. That seems to be the focus, is the general pay plan. And even on the law enforcement side, obviously we have to have internal equity and external competitiveness. So, and you know, that's an issue the judiciary is going to have to look at on the law enforcement side, if the general pay plan is approved for all employees, as we indicated. I've had meetings with the Ways and Means Chairman and some others, and obviously if the general pay plan is approved, we'll have to look at making an adjustment for the law enforcement that will be included. The question is how that will be effectuated and included in the budget. I don't think we'll see any law enforcement authorization for us, and unlikely for PDSC, included in this general pay plan bill. It's going to, you know, I think it's probably going to be just strictly limited to the general pay plan, so there's no collateral issues associated with that. Similarly, I don't think you're going to see the attorneys added to this bill either. You know, there was separate. I do think there will probably, when the public hearing comes for the attorney pay parity bill that public defender requested, there'll be testimony from us, of course, about having parity for the attorneys within the attorney pay scale to go up, you know, essentially the 15% that was provided for the prosecutors, right? And if you consider the 6% that was done the last time, that would be close to the total 22% or, you know, amount. My understanding is that they want to see all attorneys. That was the whole idea for the attorney pay plan, was to provide parity for attorneys working throughout the entire government of Guam. And if there is going to be an attorney pay plan that is going to be effectuated, it would be increase. It would apply to all, including, I presume, civil attorneys in the Attorney General's Office, Public Defender Services Corporation, Judiciary of Guam, as well as other government agencies that have attorneys. So I think that will likely be the avenue that the attorney pay plan adjustments will be effectuated, will be through the bill that was introduced. Now, one of the things is, I guess that bill provided we were going to cover the adjustments out of our, we didn't seek a separate appropriation for that amount, right?
That's correct, because we were trying to make it mirror the AG's 15%, where they said that they would they pretty much got it because they didn't require an additional appropriation, at least for.
But wasn't their budget increased? So they really did get it. I mean, because I think they got an increased budget because it was done, if I recall, wasn't it done as an amendment to the budget bill?
Yeah, it was kind of entertaining because so our budget got approved with a 6% increase across the board to all our employees, and then they made the pay parity argument to give it to only their attorneys at the AG's office, so their staff didn't get a 6% raise. And then there was a subsequent amendment that they forgot about the pay parity arguments, and then they decided to give prosecutors an extra 15% after using a parity argument to get them the initial 6%.
But are you saying that wasn't appropriated to them, that 15% in the budget?
No, it specifically states in that the budget law that they're to use unexpended appropriations from prior years.
Okay.
And
well, we'll see what happens when the attorney pay parity. I mean, they're you know, or the bill that you've requested comes up, because we will not have the funds, I think, to be able to absorb that money at first glance for all of our attorneys. Obviously, we have quite a number of attorneys, and I don't think it's sustainable for the entire, future without some appropriation from the legislature to make it happen. And I don't know. I think we need to examine carefully PDSC's budget amounts as we're working on our budget for submission, where how sustainable it'll be, because the raise isn't just this year, right?
Yeah.
It's got to go forward. And so you can't have a situation where you say, okay, we're going to cover the raise this year out of our funds, but then, they'll pretty quickly, I think you'll see we're not going to be able to cover all those amounts. So I think we need to reevaluate that funding source. And when we look at it, when we get up to that public hearing, have you got any information from Senator Kanata I guess Senator San Augustine on when that bill might be scheduled for a public hearing?
No, we haven't. I'll follow the Senator Sarang. I'm pretty sure it won't be done. Well, I'm going to try to push that it be heard before the 60th anniversary of Gideon, because that would be a nice time.
Well, I also think it's important that they have another session scheduled for the end of March. It's and to the extent that they can have the public hearing and maybe include the bill. If the general pay plan is going to be effective in April, it'd be nice if we can get the attorney pay plan effective at the same time. And so I would suggest that you follow up with Senator Kanata and Senator San Augustine and see, when they can schedule a public hearing on that bill, and then, think about the testimony that we want to provide. And I would also do the numbers, Steve, in terms of, what it'll be, because I don't know what I didn't look at it carefully, but if the budget, I mean, is the bill drafted to say that we're going to absorb it completely, not only this fiscal year, but next fiscal year and all the future?
Yeah, it would just mirror the AG's language, where it would use unexpended prior year appropriations, and then
the raises then?
No, and then it would be funded in our budget. We would make a request for that in our budget.
Okay. So how long would that increase go with unexpended funds?
Well, I mean, we would only really use it for this fiscal year, and then we would have to include it in our budget bill, because it's not I don't think it's a permanent. Well, so the the prosecution's 15% is a permanent fix. It's actually in the Attorney General statute. So it wasn't just a budget bill line item that is effective for only 1 year. And so, I think at some point the legislature is going to have to address how long do they want to maintain that.
Well, I think that's why we need to look at fixing the bill.
Yeah.
And because it's not clear to me that if it provides for unexpended funding to fund the pay raises, what happens when that source is no longer available? And it's not clear to me that the bill specified that would only be for 1 year. I didn't look at it that carefully, but I don't think it was that limiting.
Oh, no, that's correct. It didn't specify that in future years it'll be
Right. So, one could say, well, yeah, we'll give you the pay raises. You're paying for it out of your lapses. So and that's all you're going to get. And I don't think that's a realistic solution.
Yeah, that's not a realistic solution. And,
Yeah.
I explained to them there's two ways of creating parity, right? One is to give us the pay differential, or the one is to take away the pay differential that prosecutors, for some reason, were able to secure an 11 o'clock at night amendment to a budget bill without a public hearing. And so, it's just but the net result is it makes it hard for us to fill our attorney positions, because, they're going to have to take a 15% pay cut to come here, right? And so if we can get the attorney pay scale thing through, maybe at the time that they appropriate the funds for that, they'll either we'll look at the this hall pay differential really, because I don't know how the prosecutors could really justify an extra 15% over what the work that we do.
Well, the legislature thought it and gave it to them, and we just need to have them understand the issues associated with it. And I don't know that the strategy should be to take that away from them necessarily either.
Oh, no, I know.
You know, I think that, you know, with the 22% increase to the GPP, if that goes into effect, you know, and the law enforcement amount, I think we really have to look at the attorney pay scale government-wide and make adjustments. All right, any other questions for Executive Director Hattori? If not, let's hear from the APD Managing Attorney, Ms. Gill.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our newest board member, Ms. Whitman. Is she there? Miss. Hi, my name is Annie Gale, and I'm the managing attorney for alternate public defender. And we have on page 11 and 12 are the stats that we had for January 2022 to the calendar year January. The next page is the full year. I think that's what we did not have from the last board meeting. So it just shows you the way we've set up our pretrial numbers per attorney. And then at the bottom is the calendar years from 2022 to 2018. And you can see how many cases we've opened up each year. Prior board asked for the stats on public defender withdrawals, meaning public defender withdraws from a case and we get it, and what the percentage is on each one. And then the second one is APD withdrawals in general, and then how many cases we've closed. And then the earlier slide, page 11, just shows incoming for the year for January. So at the next board meeting, we'll have February and March. Well, probably, yeah, February at least. Which just shows continuing the numbers that we have. And then working from that, the other news that we have from alternate public defender is we did hire a new attorney. He's not new, he's been around. Mr. Rapadas has joined our firm, and he, for at least for the full year, he'll be doing juvenile cases. He will not be allowed to touch anything old because of his prior tenure at the Attorney General's office. But so far, he's been taking the lead on juvenile cases, mostly PINS cases in front of Judge Pro Tem Ingalls. I am involved in the training that we're doing with the Guam Bar Association, and we had this last week on Tuesday and Thursday, we did our first 2 trainings with the bar. It went a little slow the first day just because we were trying to get everybody used to it, and it went faster the second day. But I think it'll be a good training for the Guam Bar to be involved with this type of training that we're doing. I'm hoping that we'll get more people involved, but so far it's been a good I think it's been a good training tool for our members. Both Steve and I have been reaching out to different attorneys on Guam who have been appointed to the recent cases, and we've had good feedback from other bar members. That's about it. I mean, I know it's already 1:16, so I don't have anything else unless anybody has a question for me. Thank you, Your Honor. You're muted.
I'm sorry, Civil Law Center report?
Yes, good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon and welcome to our new board member. And I am Ron Haynes. I'm the managing attorney of the Civil Law Center. And in the Civil Law Center, we have the Advocacy Center, which handles cases of domestic abuse, or, any kind of abuse protection orders, and restraining orders. And then the Elder Justice Center, which has primarily been handling wills and power of attorney for healthcare and living wills. Originally, when I came on in February of last year, we had an extensive wait list of close to 600 people waiting for services. Those folks were served, and we now serve people within a few weeks after they come in and submit their documents to us. We have also expanded through the guidance of the board and their direction for us. We have expanded to doing landlord-tenant eviction defense. So really defense for a tenant when there is merit in a case. We have just started on a few of those. I have been predominantly off island in December and January for one for vacation, and then I had emergency in my family that I had to return. So we put some of the landlord tenant things on hold until then I could address them. We're also looking at advice for other issues for Medicare, Medicaid, unfair debt collection practices, acts violations, and just a general advice in cases. And again, that is something that we're beginning, and we have had some trickling in. I think, and I say I think, I actually didn't get a copy of the agenda today, but I think you got copies of some of our numbers. Yeah, there they are. So this is what we have done in the last 4 months, and it is primarily the last 4 months because that's since we have caught up. And you can see what we're doing with the numbers of cases opened and closed. I think it speaks for itself. And like I said, we've had some landlord tenant issues just trickling in. And you can see down at the bottom are cases that we've been received questions about, and we may give a little bit of advice or referrals in these areas. And now we're giving more advice, but a lot of it, all we can do is give referrals still. So as has been mentioned, I am leaving. March 10th is my last day, and I will say it's been great being here and having the confidence of Steve Hattori and Kathy Gogwe and everybody on the board to allow me to kind of stretch a little bit what we do here. One of the big issues, like I said, we're looking at landlord tenant, and now what is on the table that we've been looking at are is it something that we can do to make landlord tenant evictions and relations easier. And one of the things we're doing is investigating other states and what they do with forms and processes that make it easier for the landlord and much less likely to pass on attorney's fees and costs to a tenant, so as to create a impasse that he cannot get housing in the future. So those are what's on the table, and I'm happy to say that Carol Hinkle Sanchez has some ideas of her own, and that she will be pitching, and as well as looking at some of the other issues that we've been discussing. And she's going to take it from there, and I know most of you know her very well, and she's quite capable, and we have a lot of confidence that everything's going to continue to run well here and function well. The staff is happy that she's come, and for my own sake, I will say that you're happy with her. I hope not too happy yet, because I'm leaving and working in this meeting. But, she's going to do a good job. We have advocacy center numbers on here too. That's something that we just kind of started doing. And if you continue to go down just one more. Yeah, these are the numbers for the advocacy center. And they're growing. These are higher numbers than last year. And as Steve had said, it's primarily we've taken out of the way a lot of the conflicts now. And because we're in separate offices, we're able to address some of these protective orders without having to, say that we can't do it because of the conflict. So those are some just basic numbers. And, if you wanted to have further things, I had suggested perhaps we could add on there how many court hearings we go to as well, because sometimes in order to get a protective order, we may have been to court 4 or 5 times. So that kind of thing is not reflected in these numbers, what you're seeing here. But in January, going up to getting 7, and December having 16 cases open, and some of those are not closed, are still active. These are cases that we were able to address that we would not have been able to address if the advocacy center was still operational in the public defender's office, where there would be a conflict that we would have to withdraw from. So I think we're better serving the community, and we're getting quite a few calls. Sometimes that ends in advice, and I think that's good too. So that's about it for me. I don't know if Carol wants to say hello, and this is my last board meeting, so I'll be turning it over to her.
Any questions for Ron before we hear if Carol wants to say anything? Well, Ron, thank you for your work and your contributions as the director. I didn't get a chance to work with you very long, but I'm sure that the other trustees also share my sentiments in thanking you for the work. I noticed on the agenda we had the DPHS MOU in there. Was there going to be some discussion about that under this agenda item?
Your Honor, I included that information because that was something you had wanted to review when we made our report at the last meeting. So all we did was include the MOU, which was an extension. And then you also asked about the advisory council at the last meeting. So I included the advisory council who's serving on the advisory council. And I also, I think, included the page where the MOU states that we need to have that advisory council for the EJC.
And so the advisory council I see there is Jesse Alec, Judge Sokola, Kathy Campbell, Lou Sanchez, Dolores Lee, and Donna, right?
Yes.
And then I noticed this grant, the grant was from 2020 to 2023. Is that the grant period? When does the grant period end? I was just looking at just the parts of the MOU, and I thought that's what it said.
What my understanding, it's renewable every year for how many years, Gwen? 5?
For 3 years.
3 more
Yeah,
years.
3 years. Yeah, and it's it showed. I thought it showed at 20. Is it just till 23? Is it end of fiscal year 23, or is it? And when is the renewal? When do we have to reapply?
It's reapplied. We reapply at the beginning of every fiscal year, and it ends at the end of fiscal year 23. We have up until the end of December to submit any expenditures for that fiscal year.
Okay, so are we in the process of reapplying now?
I apologize. We have the assistance of DSC. They help us with the reapplication, but yes.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that we know the deadlines that we need to do. And what was the total grant amount last year or this year?
Every year it's the same. It's 194,000.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Any questions about the CLC or the grant or EJC? We already dealt with the attorney pay parity. And so the next item is the conflict of interest, SOPs, Steve,
Oh,
or
thank-
anyone? Is there an update on that?
Well, basically, these are the SOPs that we're currently following. I know that we provided it as part of our board packet. And so, you know, if you guys have any questions about it, otherwise we're just gonna start implementing it. I mean, we're pretty much already following it, but we just want to have our
Do you
attorney.
need actions from the trustees in order to do it or no?
No, not really. We just want to make sure you guys, we've complied with any recommended changes you made. I know that we are just basically the main changes we're having a senior attorney or sign off on it so that there will be 2 attorneys signing off on motions to withdraw. And, you know, I mean, John's here, he'll verify that we often discuss these withdrawals at morning meetings. And so.
All right. So it's more just for informational purposes.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else on the agenda. We'll do QB's thing. I don't know if there's any public discussion. I think Tuesday, March 25th is actually a Saturday. So I think this is March 28th is our next meeting, not the 25th.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Is there anything else? If not, can I entertain a motion to adjourn? And I did get my lunch, by the way. I flashed it. So that's why when you saw my camera going off, I was trying to sneak some bites in between.
Motion to adjourn,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman. Okay, I'll second the motion.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you at
Thank
the
you.
next board meeting. Take care.
Adios.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.